Hey everyone, this is Hydra Hut, and this is Galacticon by Brendan Smalls. The name should sound familiar to you. He's a musician. He's done quite a few albums. Galacticon is one of them. Galacticon 2 is the most recent. That's actually the one that this comic is based on. You'll probably be more familiar with him, though, from his animated show called Metalocalypse, which is on Adult Swim. One of the only good shows on Adult Swim anymore. This is great. This is by Albatross Comics. We're only on issue number 5. Brendan Smalls, I believe, is just the plot designer, and he's having somebody else. No, he is writing, and creating it. Right on. So this is great. Not a lot of places are carrying Albatross, but they do have some really good comics. I really enjoy this. The art kind of reminds me of Bakshi style. Kind of, I guess, a little like heavy metal, but really more Bakshi style with that real, like, well done, but kind of rough looking at the classic color style. You'll see as I get into it. But basically what this is about is Triton, who's the helmet on the cover. He's our main character. He's a famous bounty hunter, essentially. He caught this guy named Beastblade that nobody could kill. He's one of the most dangerous criminals ever. But where we are meeting Triton, his wife just left him because he apparently sent dick pics to an underage stripper on a different planet. I think on one of the moons of Titan. So his wife left him. His wife is extremely famous. He's extremely famous. She just raped him in the divorce. Now all of his sponsors are dropping him because they think he's going crazy, because he's kind of lost his stability when he lost his wife. And he's basically been wandering through space trying to deal with his bills and his bullshit. Where issue 5 takes off. Well, okay. Issue 5 is basically the second the second part and finale of something that happened in the last issue, where he was basically just chilling in space. The space IRS showed up to take his funds. His manager popped in via hologram and basically said he could work out a deal with them. He just needed Triton to go get some mental health so they could prove that he wasn't insane. That way his sponsors would start paying him again and he could take care of all of his bills. Triton wasn't having any of that. He stormed off and left. And then his mom, who looks like Granny Goodness, which is kind of funny, and it's constantly bothering him, she called him up and told him that she knew of a planet where he could go and just get the letter saying that he was good. He just had to go talk to this lady for a little bit. So he pops into that planet, assuming that it's just going to be a free ride. It's this crazy big-haired looking chick. Trying to think of who she reminds me of. Anyway, she's really thick, big hair, absolutely ugly, and she's basically a fake therapist. She gives him a whole bunch of terrible advice, and then when he's about to leave, she has a prophecy saying that his wife's going to die, and if he tries to help her, he's going to die too. Whatever he do, don't leave. And then he seems very against the treatment at first, but the more he goes, the more into it he is, and he becomes very obsessed with it. And that's when his crew, T1T5, his robot, and his ship, were basically his only friends. They start telling him that this planet is loaded down with basically failed therapy patients. They get really bad advice. It turns them into narcissistic sociopaths, and they refuse to leave because all they want to talk about is themselves. And they have no urge or interest to better themselves or go anywhere else. And his ship and his robot realize that this is happening to him. They try and warn him. He just freaks out, leaves, and the ship and the robot take off to repair themselves. Where this one's picking up is it's a planet of guys who run like a fighting arena. They basically go planet to planet, capturing people and then putting them into fights that they broadcast. Well, they go to this planet because they know they're really not going to see any sort of resistance, and they start capturing people. And that's where we start out. The therapy planet Thermona. Also, a little bit about, if you haven't been reading this, then this is kind of cool. This is Triton's robot. It's T1T5, or Tits. He's like R2D2, but kind of simpier. And he doesn't use words. He speaks in guitar riffs. And they actually tell you how to do them, which equipment to use and everything. It's pretty neat. If you get this, definitely check this little section out right here. It's an interesting read. All right. So we start off with these creatures. They're already capturing people, killing people, locking them up. And they basically round them all up and take them to this arena planet. And that's where we meet. And this is what I'm talking. Look at this art. It's like classic 80s. Just, I am a big fan of this stuff. This in this cell, we got this guy here, Dorfwald. And he's the one that's feeding them. And they're a dick to Dorfwald. And Dorfwald's a dick to them, too. And he's super excited that they're all going to die. And he's pretty funny. And the people are freaking out because this monster is making all this noise. And they're like, he's going to kill us. He's going to slaughter us. They want us to know. And then we immediately jump scenes to the repair moon, where we find Tits and the spaceship are basically getting repairs and finding out what they have to do to service themselves. While there, Triton's mother calls, and that's where we basically get filled in on what happened in the last issue. If you weren't really following it, this would catch you up pretty well. We jump back to the planet, where everybody is still discussing the fact that they're all going to die. While in captivity, our main man Triton, who was technically reborn on the last planet, in a sense, he's been trying to figure out what's going to happen and how they're going to get away from this. And he realizes that everybody that's gone up against this monster has all died the same way and always goes about the same way. They're basically semi-starved. The monster is starved. And then they're sent out and the monster basically just eats them. Dorfwald, the guy who feeds them, is always saying, I feed you, you feed the monster. Or the master is what they call him. Which is some foreshadowing, which is cool. While this is happening, we get to see the guys who are actually running this planet basically discussing Triton and his death. They know that Beast's Blade has escaped prison. He's after Triton's wife. In the last issue, we actually saw him capture Triton's ex-wife. And they're really, really excited that all their plans are panning out perfectly. And they're pretty positive that they're going to get a mad reward when Triton is dead. Triton, though, is a little bit smarter than your average bear. And he starts being very nice to Dorfwald and tells Dorfwald he's a great cook. Dorfwald is ecstatic to be complimented by anybody. And he becomes basically instant friends with Triton. And he starts telling him secrets. He tells him that when the others fight the master, they all go out, they scatter, and he individually picks them off. He also tells him about some plans that are happening because he knows that Triton's going to die, so it doesn't matter if Dorfwald tells anybody. And the facial expressions on Dorfwald is just disturbingly good. So I don't know why in this part Triton covers himself in this nasty food, but I'm guessing it's just so he can slip out of this tiny hole, even though his shoulders wouldn't have fit. And then he basically wanders the base and actually sneaks into this command tower, kills a bunch of people, and contacts his buddies, and then sneaks back into his cell, where he then rallies everybody together and gives them an idea on how they can destroy the master. And this whole bit is actually really good. It shows teamwork. It shows Triton is not the pathetic failure that he's been kind of portrayed as through the other 4 books. And I'm not actually going to continue too much on, because the stuff that happens after this is very, very cool, very, very brutal, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Issue 6 came out this last Wednesday. I was going to review it, but this one, that's kind of the finishing up of something, so I really wanted to cover this one first. If you haven't been reading Galacticon, it's on Comixology. If you might have a problem finding it in a store, but I definitely recommend this. I think Brendan Small is a good writer. I personally really like this kind of dark 80s gritty sci-fi feel. And let's see if I can find what I'm talking about. Some of this art just really, really reminds me a Bakshi, like this stuff, and these fights. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Bakshi, and I know our artist on this has nothing to do with him, but his style really reminds me of it, and I like that. And again, this is written and created by Brendan Small, drawn by Steve Mannion, colors by Marissa Louise, lettering Warren Montgomery, published by Albatross. Definitely check this out, guys. Highly recommend it. Hail Hydra, baby.